Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast. I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Randi Levin of Randi Levin Coaching. Randy, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. Love being here.
Definitely super excited to have you on. And before we jumped in, I want to read a little bit more about Randy so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Randy is a trusted, nationally recognized transitional life strategist and reinvention expert, keynote, and thought leader. She supports founders, entrepreneurs, and those in life cycle transitions in redefining and realigning success and legacy as power tools for choice, change, and self leadership in real time. Randy spent the better part of 2 decades in corporate, a long gig as a SAM or stay at home mom, and reinvented herself later on as a successful entrepreneur and sought after coach. In year 7 of her business, Randy supports her clients and audience in making bold, no nonsense decisions that shift perspectives and lead them and their goals forward. She believes that you begin from where you are. Randy has been featured and quoted in CEO BlogNation, Forbes, Thrive Global, Fairygodboss, The Ladders, Yahoo Lifestyle, Best Life Parenting, Women's World, Reader's Digest, Business Insider, The Wall Street Journal, MSN, and Amex OpenForum. Randy, are you ready to speak to the IMCL community?
I am ready.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, the world is raving about all the awesome things that you're doing. So I wanted to kind of kick everything off, hear how you got started, what I call your CEO story. We'll let you get started with the business.
Well, absolutely. So I was transitioning myself, third chapter of my own life, and in becoming an entrepreneur and a founder. And that was before transition was even trendy as it is right now. But one of the things that really got me started in my own space after spending time in corporate, spending time with my kids, was really that idea of legacy. It was not the dictionary definition of what we leave behind, but really that idea of what can we curate? What can we drive? Or what can I curate? Or what can I drive right now that's going to make a difference? And it was that little seed that really got me going in becoming a coach. I thought I was going back to get my degree to be an MSW, but found all this coaching stuff, went back to school, got certified, and kind of hit the ground running and love what I do.
Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate that, and I appreciate you for reminding us of that legacy piece. Because I think so many times, and I don't know if you feel the exact same way when we think of legacy. Sometimes we're fast forwarding years and years in the future, and we're thinking, okay, this doesn't have any impact with what I'm doing presently. But I love that kind of different perspective that you provided of what I can do right here, right now, and how that can impact today, but also impact years and years down the line.
Absolutely. And we get to choose that. And we don't realize
Mm,
that. We give it up over and over again, saying, I'll get to it tomorrow, or when the
right.
time is right, when I have enough money, when my kids don't need me, all the excuses come in.
Mhm.
And yet, that legacy, it's right here, it's right now. What is that piece you can do? Where can you impact something and take something forward?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I absolutely love that. And I know I touched a little bit upon, how you work with your clients, but I can imagine that goes right in line with, as you said so well, it's definitely a trendy world and it's almost a necessary word to talk about, the transition and disruption, and some of those words that we've all experienced in some form, shape, or fashion. But I imagine when people are going through that, that legacy piece probably comes up as well too, as it came up for you. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how you work with clients do that?
Well, absolutely, because we all hit a point in time where we need to make other decisions. We need to change. We are changing. What's happened in the past year with the pandemic has left all of us recalibrating, thinking about what's next. How do I want to show up? What do I want to edit for myself? So, positioning yourself, looking at what do I want my legacy to be tomorrow, allows us to take today and make that happen. So I work with people to make really bold choices and powerful decisions to really be able to get past the noise, get past the excuses and the things they may be telling themselves, the fears perhaps, to really be able to stay in action on the goals that they set, to set goals that make sense for what they want and really empower them.
Yeah, and that's so powerful. And I love that, the word bold, obviously, because I almost feel like, as you said, cutting through the noise and being able to kind of maybe pivot and change in a different direction. I almost feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, that takes bold action because when you have habits, when you've been doing things on a regular basis, you almost have to like jerk and reshift in order to kind of see that change, and, and it to manifest itself in the life.
And I call it recalibrate. Um,
Mm.
and that's something that it's not a one and done. It's not something, okay, I just shifted, I'm good. Every day is an opportunity to make those bold choices, to recalibrate just a little bit, to reset something, to align it with
Mhm,
the world's aligned with who you are, the
mhm.
things you do aligned with who you are, what really means something to you. And we don't always stop to assess that. And yet it's so critically important to one's happiness, to one's legacy, to
Mhm.
one being the best person they can be. And we talk about goals, we go out and we set all these goals, but in order to get those goals, there has to be that alignment there. So
Yeah.
it's really important.
Yeah, I love that alignment word as well too, because I think so many times when we take actions, we sometimes feel like it's not the right action, but we can't sometimes put it into words. And I don't know if you find this with clients, but sometimes it's because you haven't done that quote unquote inner work, it sounds like, that you do with your clients, where you figure out what is in alignment, like who am I, what are my passions, what are my my visions, my morals, all of those things. And if you don't do that work, it's hard to figure out what the right step is, I guess you could say.
So, your organization all about being a CEO, right? And we all know what that is in the world. But that starts with you. It is that inner work. You are the CEO of your life. It's a self leadership thing. And so
Mm,
if you can lock in that self leadership over and over again, the rest of it just naturally follows. The alignment is there almost organically. It's the inner work, it's the self leadership, it's the CEO of your own life.
that's extremely powerful. I absolutely love that. And so I wanted to, I know we touched on, how you work with your clients. Was there anything additional you want to let us know on the process and how that manifests itself?
Sure. I'm virtual. Before it was trendy, I was virtual with my clients, and my clients are all over the place. Everything is done via Zoom or Skype or phone. And my passion is one-on-one. I do group coaching from time to time, but I love my one-on-one. I love to see people grow and really, be able to turn and transition and step into their own brilliance. And that really kind of recharges me. So that's kind of really how we work. I also have a network that I formed when the pandemic first started called the Recalibration Network. That's
Mhm.
a free network actually on Facebook and Zoom that has events and things that are part of it. So also a little passion project. And I
Yeah.
do
What?
speaking and podcasting and
Yeah.
keynote and all of that as well.
Yeah, and of course you've been, of course featured on our site and so many great others. So I love the work that you do, and I almost feel like, a lot of times when we go through experiences and we have gifts, and I guess the knowledge and information that sometimes goes through those experiences, as you said so well, obviously it helps us out individually. But I love that you've been able to kind of create different ways in the coaching and in the group and in so many different ways to kind of give that same experience and those knowledge and keys of wisdom out to others as well too.
Yeah. So, it's a thought leadership place, and I love
Mm,
bringing that out in other people too, because we're all experts on so many things. And we don't necessarily consider ourselves an expert. I can't tell you how many times over, particularly if somebody comes out of corporate into private sector, they think, oh, I'm starting over. I'm starting over. No, you're really an expert. You're starting this, but you're bringing so much to the table. So there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah, and it kind of sounds like a perspective switch, because I think, and I almost feel this way about our gifts, that sometimes things that we've been doing, for so long, and things that sometimes come naturally, we take for granted and assume that everybody knows it and everybody can do it, that we feel like we're starting from zero, if not less than zero sometimes. But if we
Mhm.
look at our
Newborn.
experiences, looking at, yeah, our gifts, we really see that we do have, for lack of a better term, maybe a head start in some ways in our lane that we've been able to kind of learn
In
in.
so many ways. There's almost nothing that we actually do in life, good, bad, or the wins and the losses, that don't create the sizzle reel for ourselves, that don't give us
Mhm.
bandwidth in every other choice we make and every other thing that we do. Use it. Like, if there's one thing you take away from this whole conversation, use your stuff, use what you've got. Really important.
Yeah, it was given to you for a reason, and a lot of times it's for you to make that impact that we know that we're
Value
capable of doing.
add, right?
Hmm.
What's the value
Hmm.
add? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I wanted to ask you now for what I call your secret sauce, and this could be for yourself individually or the business or a combination of both. But what do you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
I'm going to say decision making, because I've always personally been a good decision maker. And sometimes we get to a point of doing something well because we were pushed into doing it, and that is the case. I am the teen of divorce. My parents divorced when I was
Mhm.
in high school, and was kind of forced into making a lot of adult decisions, if you would, early.
Mhm.
And one decision became another decision, became another, and I just became really good at it. It was always a natural progression of decision making, whereas some people just freeze and get stuck in stuff. And so it's something I'm good at, and good at citing and finding solutions for things. And so that's something that really easy for me to put in perspective and help other people with, and is almost always something that's part of coaching with somebody, is in making those choices. We're only one choice away from that next goal. We're one choice away from that thing we said we wanted, right? So, where do you see it? How is it possible? And then what are the steps to get there?
Yeah, and I love, you of course, I'm sorry, of course, you went through that experience, but I love that you've been able to kind of take that, and that creates, your secret sauce and what it is that helps you to help others as well too. Because I think so many times, and I don't know if you find this with clients, the idea of making a decision sometimes is the most fearful thing because we always see the worst thing that will happen. But I almost feel like going through and making decisions, and maybe it not being the best decision, but it may be working out better than we thought it would, or maybe not being as bad as it would, sometimes releases us from the, I guess, the pressure and the burden sometimes of making those decisions.
Yeah, we write a story. We naturally go to that space of that's not going to work, or it's too
Mhm.
soon, or I don't have the money, or no one's going to take me seriously, or whatever story we tell ourselves, and we stop. It's partially imposter syndrome, it's partially fear, it's partially just storytelling. What happens if we write a different story, or we don't write any story? We just allow ourselves to choose, or permit ourselves to step into something and see what happens.
Yeah, it's extremely powerful because I think, as you said, we sometimes create that story, create that, script, and don't realize that we're doing it. But it's great to be able to kind of lean on, your, story and your expertise and all the great work that you do, because you can start to remove yourself from, that story that we get stuck in, to be able to kind of have a different perspective, a potential different story, and just kind of let things be to some degree.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I want to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
Well, I think it's something that I want to share a perspective, and this is going to be a little shifter, if you would.
Mhm.
We grow up being told, follow your dreams. Follow your dreams. How many times have you said it to somebody, or someone said it to you? Think about graduations. Follow your dreams, right?
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with that statement, except if we're busy following them, we're not leading them.
Mhm.
And so that little nugget is lead them instead. Don't follow them. Because when we're in that leadership role, again, going back to that self leadership, and we have a year like we just had with a pandemic, everything changes. You grab back your control. You make the choices and decisions that you can make to pivot, to change, to stay in your lane, to get out of your lane a little bit. But if you're following something, you're stuck, because you decided that that's the habit, that's the thing you're going to follow. So lead your goals instead of following them.
I absolutely love that. It's so powerful, and you hear it so often, you don't realize like what it means and what it could mean. And I think, yeah, exactly. And during times like this where just about everything has pivoted and changed, you can't follow something if it's on an old path or it's written with old rules or in a different way. But you can lead because it gives you that power, as you said. It gives you that ability to make those decisions, to decide where you want to go, as we talked about.
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I appreciate that hack. And so now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget. So that could be more of a word of wisdom or piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Yes. And what else? And what else? The word and is one of the most powerful words in the whole English language, because we think of things in terms of this or that. We have to choose. You have to pick one or the other. What if we allow ourselves to do something and something else?
Mhm.
And so it opens up that whole arena. So if you at a crossroads, or you're stuck making a decision, or you're just kind of looking for some more action steps, ask yourself, and what else? Open up the sentence, say whatever the statement is, and then say, and what else? And then answer the question. And you're going to automatically give yourself a little more bandwidth, more action steps, more power, more thought behind what you're saying. And it changes the conversation.
Yeah, and I feel like correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it changes us as well too, because it sounds like it taps into that abundance mindset where we don't see life as either or, we see that life as both or and what else,
Right.
as you said so
Don't
well.
close the door, open the door. And then you
Mm,
can decide to go in if you want to, but
yeah.
keep the door open. Okay, what does that look like if I add this to it? Is it so concrete, or is there more? Because we cut
Yeah.
ourselves off. We have a lot more freedom than we give ourselves credit for. And so if we use that word and, or ask ourselves, and what else? It allows us to think a little bit larger.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I mean, for me, I feel like it also taps into that childlike wonder, so to speak. And I feel like through life, through things not going the way we want them to go, or maybe through, external factors, sometimes
Mhm.
we start to minimize the impact or the things that we can do. But in reality, if we tap back into that, childlike wonder, we can do this and we can do that. We just have to sometimes figure out how. And that's sometimes where the innovation comes from.
Great. So we want to allow it in, and then we can choose. Do we keep
Hmm.
it? We're going to try it. Is this something we can do? But if you close the door on it and you just say it's this or that, well, then it is. It's this or that, and you're probably not going to get that thing that you want, and it may not happen. But and what else?
Yeah, that's huge. And I love how, we've been talking about just how powerful words are. And sometimes we say stuff almost, I don't want to say mechanically, but they've been kind of given to us throughout our lives. We hear them so often and we don't realize the power that they hold. And to be able to kind of reframe those things in the words that we say gives us an infinite amount of possibilities, it sounds.
Well, it allows you to control your life a little bit more. It allows you
Mm,
to have that self leadership. We
yeah.
give up so easily. Tell ourselves we can't do it for whatever reason. Well, this allows you to say, okay, what can I do? What can I do
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah, you start to get into what can't I do rather than what can I do, which is extremely powerful. So I
Right.
absolutely love that, Randy. And I want to ask you now my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So, Randy, what does being a CEO mean to you?
There's a number of things. I think there's a certain autonomy that comes with it. That's what I love about it, is that I get to choose.
Mhm.
I get to make the rules. I get to drive what I want to drive. And if I don't want to drive something, I don't have to do that. I don't have to show up the way you show up or somebody else shows up.
Mhm.
I can choose that positioning in it. So definitely the autonomy, the ability to be inspirational, to be one of a kind, um, to self lead, to have legacy, to build legacy. So a lot of things we've been talking about are really definitely a part of that, and part of what drew me into that founder CEO space, and what I love to work on with other people too is and when I coach in 360 degrees. So I'm not a business coach, I'm a transitional coach. So I'm looking at
Mm.
all aspects of somebody. And what I love in that CEO or founder space is that it's all of you. It's you intersecting with the moment. It's you taking everything that got you here and really empowering it, really doing something with it, something that's meaningful to you and hopefully to others as well.
Yeah, that's so powerful. So many times I say, if you run your own race, you can never lose. And I think that as we talked about in the very beginning, just tapping into, what success looks like for ourselves, tapping into that inner work, so to speak, really gives us that North Star of what even success looks like. And we become that leader because we're really directing ourselves rather than being directed by whatever, might be out there that we sometimes get caught in. So I think that's extremely powerful. And then two, being able to, of course, take those actions, understand that it's not either or, it's a combination of both. But we get to be like an artist, so to speak, and get to paint that canvas to be what we want our life to be.
And guess what? Tomorrow you get to paint a new one.
Mm,
And maybe you're going to use the same colors, maybe you aren't. Maybe the
Mhm.
canvas is bigger. Maybe it's smaller. Maybe you skip one day. Ah, the CEO space.
Exactly. Exactly. But we all have the power, within us to do that and to make that happen and see what kind of comes up from there. So I absolutely appreciate that definition. And I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is just pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you're working on.
Absolutely. So the best way to get in touch with me is via my website at randilevincoaching.com. You can hit the Let's Talk tab on the homepage. It opens to my calendar. Welcome virtual coffees. So please, feel free to do that. Also, in the Recalibration Network on Facebook is a transformative networking transitional group, if you would, all about change and renewal and collaboration. So just go ahead and Google it. And if anybody's interested, I also have a free challenge at randilevincoaching.com/leadership. It's a leadership challenge. So go ahead and grab that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Randi. To make it even easier, we'll have the links and information in the show notes as well, too, so that everybody can click through, take the challenge, join the Facebook group, and set up a time to chat with coffee and virtually, as you said so well. So I appreciate you for doing that and taking some time out and just all the things that you talked about the possibility. Sometimes we don't realize that we think about things in silos. So I love the work that you do to kind of get us out of those silos and see what are the possibilities, blend those things, work with ands instead of buts or not enough or whatever it is that sometimes we can tell ourselves. So I appreciate you for doing that so much. And I appreciate your, of course, your time. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much. You too.